边的人不断的跑来说这个地方打死人了，那个地方打死人了，而且后来广场就出不去进不来了嘛，被戒严部队封锁了。我还在纪念碑上砸了一把那种半自动的步枪。作为一个89运动的参与者，而我是幸存者，那些人都死于了屠杀。那么我内心深处一直有份愧疚感，而且呢，他们不但是死了，而且呢，到就是说官方一直就是说掩盖这个事实。
These images are the last that we filmed of Liu Xiaobo. A discreet meeting, as always, to avoid police surveillance. An hour of conversation in a Beijing suburb in the year that the city hosted the Olympic Games. Liu Xiaobo in 2008 was the most eminent of the Chinese dissidents, one of the heroes of Tiananmen Square. It was he who stood up to the Beijing regime, he who protected the students.
差不多了。
This is the story of the man who defied Beijing. A few weeks after this meeting, his life would be changed once more. The Chinese regime would make him disappear for good. For the calm man with whom we shared tea was not content in the year 2008 to recount his memories of the Beijing Spring. In great secrecy, with hundreds of intellectuals, he drew up Charter 08, which demanded the democratization of China. A text that was to make him once again the regime's enemy number one, and which would earn him universal recognition.
The Norwegian Nobel Committee has decided to award the Nobel Peace Prize for 2010 to Liu Xiaobo for his long and non-violent struggle for fundamental human rights in China.
He had won the Nobel Peace Prize, alongside Václav Havel and Nelson Mandela. But Liu Xiaobo languished in a Chinese prison. So in Oslo, the Nobel Prize is officially awarded to an empty chair. It is time to let this chair, this silent Nobel Prize, speak. We have crossed several continents to find those close to him, his fellow travelers, and the places that marked his journey. A journey through the whole of recent Chinese history. A journey of courage and truth. A journey that Beijing does all it can to eradicate from our memory. It was in Beijing in the middle of the 1980s that Liu Xiaobo made his first public appearance. The 1980s were a period of incredible freedom for the Chinese, who turned the page on Maoism. The country began to open up to the world and to copy some of the new enthusiasms. On the campus of the prestigious Normal University in the capital, Liu Xiaobo was a young Chinese man doing literary research. His colleagues knew about his frank views. But for his American translator, Perry Link, it was at a convention in 1986 that the young intellectual changed dimension.
There was a conference in Beijing to celebrate the 10 years of the new period, so-called, in Chinese literature, to show that we improved so much since Mao Zedong. And it was a good idea and a good conference. But Liu Xiaobo was one of the young participants there. And that's the first place at which he sort of threw a firebomb.
我一个同班同学，他也去参加了那个会，回来就跟我们学说出现了一匹黑马，啊，然后呢，他就学着刘晓波那结巴的口气说点话，说这个中国现代文学都是古代的什么垃圾，反正大概就是这一类的批判的话。
Ça lui a donné une immense visibilité. Et dans les années 87, 88, 89, Liu Xiaobo est une vedette. Liu Xiaobo, quand il va parler dans une université, on se bouscule à l'entrée. On ne peut pas entrer dans les amphithéâtres.
« 实际上，我一开始的想法非常朴实，我就希望能做一个真实的、有尊严的人。那么，在中国这种体制内呢，无论是在高校里还是在社会上，你要做这么一个人呢，你还要作为一个知识分子，你还要写东西，还要发表自己的言论，那么呢，就必然跟这个制度发生冲突。
In 1986, Liu Xiaobo had become a star in Chinese intellectual life. Yet, the young researcher had never been to school before going to the university. He was born in 1955 in Changchun, in the cold industrial northeast of China, on the borders of Russia, North Korea, and Mongolia. Liu Xiaobo's father was a professor of literature and deeply communist. But that didn't protect his family during the Cultural Revolution that Mao triggered in 1966. We have to make a clean break with the past, cried the great helmsman's Red Guards, who inflicted their violence everywhere. Teachers like Liu Xiaobo's father had become the enemies of the people. Mao closed all the schools in the country. Liu Xiaobo was only 11 years old. The young boy had nothing to do all day. He was too young to be a Red Guard like his elder brothers. So he spent his time in reading more and more. His family had managed to keep a large number of books, particularly foreign editions, even when they were sent to Inner Mongolia for re-education. Living conditions were very difficult. But with no school and no constraints, Liu Xiaobo was a happy child, enjoying great freedom. Su Youyum, the Chinese philosopher, was a Red Guard at the time. He has become one of his country's most celebrated liberal intellectuals. And he was one of those who wrote to the Nobel Prize Committee to plead for Liu Xiaobo.
68年，毛泽东迫使我们全部下乡到农村去当知识青年。中国农村的贫困跟落后的状况，又一次教育了我。这是第二次启蒙，就认识到中国的社会制度并不像共产党宣传那么说的社会主义制度有那么大的优越性。
After his adolescence, Liu Xiaobo became a house painter in his village Changchun, the ancient capital of Manchuria that is now a huge metropolis with 7 million inhabitants. So, the young Chinese man never went to school. He was self-taught. That is one of the paradoxes of the Cultural Revolution. By closing the schools, Mao Zedong may have lost control of part of the Chinese intellect, as they had to create their own methods of thinking.
那我 我很小就是年轻的时候就是读法国的文学作品吧，特别是就是像这个左拉的当年的那个《我控诉》，其实左拉的那个角色，他扮演那个公共知识分子那个角色呢，对于大陆的青年，就是后来的知识分子影响还是很大的。现在很多人就会提起这个，谈到中国这个公共知识分子啊，他们都会提到左拉的名字。
In 1976, the death of Mao put an end to the Cultural Revolution. A year later, the Chinese universities reopened their doors. Liu Xiaobo enrolled in Changchun University, plunging avidly into a sea of knowledge that had been denied him. 25 years old, with his diploma in his pocket, he left his region of birth to go to the capital, there to become the young phenomenon of Chinese intellectual life. Beijing at the end of the 80s breathed freedom, so far from the countryside where Liu Xiaobo grew up. In the center of the capital, the new International Library was a magnet for youth. They went there to express their desires and new dreams.
过去就像莫泊桑啊、莫里埃的那个，就稍微知道一点，看得很少，但是主要知识还是太没法。我准备明年这个到出国留学，所以现在做基础吧。
Liu Xiaobo finished his thesis, devoted to aesthetic and human freedom, a freedom for which he was already the champion amongst Chinese intellectuals. He was 33 and now wished to discover the West, whose literature had nourished his youth. In the summer of 1988, as the first American fast food outlet came to Beijing, Liu Xiaobo set off in the opposite direction. On the way to America, his first stop was in Hong Kong, where he discovered a different China, a modern China, a China with respect for freedom. Then he went to Oslo. His first contact with the West turned sour. He was bored stiff and angry with the sinologists at the Norwegian University, whom he treated as usurpers. At last, in autumn 1988, he landed in New York. Andrew Nathan, doyen of the Chinese studies at the prestigious University of Columbia, offered him a post as visiting professor.
I don't think the university at that level or much less the US government or anybody had any plans for this guy. It was just that somebody asked me to invite him and he was curious and wanted to come over. Certainly it's true that in the United States at that time we were pretty optimistic about the direction of China. You know, Deng Xiaoping had come here, he had put on a cowboy hat, you know, we believed, it's funny to think about this now in retrospect as we talk about it, but we thought China was on the road to some form of Chinese democracy. So we were certainly interested in having exchanges with, you know, Chinese intellectuals. But in this particular case, he was not part of any big game plan. It was his idea to come here.
Many young Chinese intellectuals lived in New York during the cold start to 1989. There was the young Ai Weiwei, who is now world-renowned in contemporary art. There was also the poet Bei Ling, who had come to New York some months earlier and who agreed to put up Liu Xiaobo.
He said, Bei Ling, you can host me? I said, yes. You can stay my place. Then we're going to airport, pick up him. I still remember several Chinese distant with me going there, pick up him together because he's already well known outside. In my apartment every night in New York have so many Chinese distant. So we always can see each other in outside or in my renting apartment living room.
This little community of Chinese intellectual expats lived in the Queens district of New York. Liu Xiaobo was fascinated by the bookshops, museums, and art galleries. In March, he visited the Metropolitan Museum of Art, one of the most important museums in the world, situated close to Central Park.
He himself has written about going to the Metropolitan Museum of New York, seeing these wonderful, huge paintings, and starting to feel almost in an existential sense that human life is incomplete, including Western life. We still have to measure China against these international standards, but my second task is I have to have a critical attitude toward the standard itself. The West is not a model, it's a bag of its own problems.
While Liu Xiaobo was in New York, Hu Yaobang, the former Secretary General of the Chinese Communist Party, died of a heart attack on the 15th of April 1989 in Beijing. He had been made to resign 2 years earlier, pushed out by the more conservative elements of the regime. For Hu Yaobang had been the architect of the opening up of China in the 80s. In the universities, posters were immediately put up in homage to this father of reform. Small groups of students gathered, and some of them converged on Tiananmen Square towards the end of the day. 2 days later, on the evening of the 17th of April, a new assembly was organized on the square. This time, there were nearly 3,000 students, and they presented an initial list of demands. They went from the reinstatement of Hu Yaobang's vision of democracy and the fight against corruption, right up to the suppression of censorship. In New York, Liu Xiaobo followed the events from the apartment of Hu Ping, the eldest of a small group of exiled Chinese dissidents.
而且他也很快就意识到，这是一场很伟大的一场民主运动。我们曾经2次联名发表一些公开信、一些倡议书，而且这些公开倡议书呢，当时没有不像现在没有互联网了，而且当时一般的在中国，一般人根本没有电话，那时候我们就是通过传真机传到了北京。 那么北京的一些朋友们还把我们的这些呼吁书啊、倡议书啊，到处张贴，包括张贴在北京大学的所谓三角地，还引起了相当的这个关注。
On the 22nd of April, during Hu Yaobang's official funeral, the students once more invaded Tiananmen Square. The party leaders, gathered in the Great Hall of the People, started to worry.
在60之前，刘晓波已经取得了这么一个地位，就是在中国知识分子中间一个思想领袖的地位。如果他不回去的话，形势就会把他淘汰掉，他就会失去这个地位。所以我觉得刘晓波的这种 政治抱负或者是政治野心也起了作用。
If you all come back, maybe that time is the most important moment. Maybe can change China. So only him say, okay, you can buy study, you buy tickets now. Me and Hu Ping, we both a little bit worried. If we back to China, maybe dangerous.
On the 27th of April 1989, although the authorities hardened their attitude, tens of thousands of students set out from their campus to march to Tiananmen Square. When Liu Xiaobo arrived in the Chinese capital, he wanted to meet the leader of the movement at once. He was taken to the campus where Wu Kaixi lived and who had just been elected as president of the Students' Autonomous Federation.
Liu Xiaobo is an iconic name to all students in China at that time already. And there he is, knocking on the door of my dorm and looking for me. However, I was in my dorm is having an emergency meeting with student leaders from different universities. I'd say, well, Liu Xiaobo or not, I have to shut you out. So, no, you cannot come in. I think I will probably shut down God himself if he was knocking the door at that moment in the meeting seems to be more important than anything. And but of course, right after the meeting, I was so agitated to say that was Liu Xiaobo. I want to go to find him. And then we went to his place, his little dorm in campus, and knock on the door, and we sat down and we talked. Immediately, we became very good friends.
Liu Xiaobo literally plunged into the movement which had begun 10 days earlier and was constantly growing. He spent several days and even nights in Tiananmen Square, which had been transformed into a huge agora in the heart of Beijing, close to the seat of Chinese power. The literary critic changed progressively into a political activist, feeling that he was living a major historic change for the Chinese people. But it was a movement initiated and conducted by students, and as the professor that he was, he sometimes treated the young, inexperienced leaders severely.
我觉得这次大学生运动的一个重大失误就在于，他只强调和政府之间的对抗关系，而忽略了甚至淡漠了自身的民主建设。你建设这个组织根本就不民主的话，咱们假定一个最好的前提，血管代替了经管，这恰恰不是这次民主运动的胜利，恰恰是它的最大失败、最大可悲之处。
He was one of the most important advisors to the 1989 student movement. And we were looking for guidance, we were looking for teachers, and he took that role.
On Tiananmen Square, the students had begun a hunger strike, eclipsing the historic visit from the Soviet leader, Mikhail Gorbachev. The leadership of the Chinese Communist Party was torn between partisans of the strong arm and those who favored negotiation. The decision fell to the aged leader Deng Xiaoping. He declared martial law and mobilized the army. Xiao Caiyang, the reformist leader of the party, recognized that danger was near. He went to the square to plead with the students.
我们来自台湾了总算来了。对不起，对不起，这有啊，你们不管怎么样啊，说我们批评我们啊，都是应该的啊。
Despite the tears of the Secretary General of the party, the hardliners won. The regime decided to use force to evacuate the square. Liu Xiaobo saw that danger was imminent and, with 3 other personalities, started a hunger strike to demand non-violence, both from the students and also from the army, which was already stationed around the city.
"我们现在主张非暴力，就表现了我们这一代是跟共产党的意识形态做了一个彻底的决裂，所以我们特别鼓吹这一点，就是跟共产党以前的意识形态完全持一个相反的态度。因为鼓吹暴力的是这马克思列宁主义的政党，尤其是中国共产党，他们提倡的是枪杆子里面出政权。
During the evening of the 3rd of June 1989, the People's Liberation Army invested the Chinese capital. The massacre began at each pocket of resistance. People were shot down in the streets. They were shot down in the universities. Tiananmen Square in the heart of Beijing was the army's final objective. The order was to clear it by the following morning. The students were divided in two. Some sought peace. The more radical members wanted to stay and face up to the army.
找一些学生帮助收缴学生手中的那一些东西，比如说把2个工人架着的那个机枪，劝说他们放弃这个东西，找学生谈回。
Liu Xiaobo wants to save life. He tried, and he take things under his own responsibility. He will go. He will carry a white flag and walk to the soldiers who are shooting. And he will negotiate a way out. That's who he is. He believes his own responsibility.
然后呢，跟这个谈判完了，然后就是回到纪念碑上，呼吁学生撤离。然后最后那一幕呢，就是快到天亮的时候，大概广场的学生陆陆续续从戒严部队开的那个东南口就都撤走了。
When the 4th of June dawned, Tiananmen Square was a ruined battlefield. But according to all the witnesses, an even greater calamity was avoided thanks to Professor Liu and his comrades. What we know as the Tiananmen Square massacre happened all round, in the city streets and in the neighborhoods where students took refuge. Shooting was heard for several more days in the Beijing streets. Families searched for their loved ones. Today, the figures are still impossible to know. Several hundreds or several thousands died. The next day, the 5th of June 1989, while tanks patrolled Tiananmen Square, a man, alone, became the symbol of the Chinese people's resistance to a dictatorship that had Beijing's blood on its hands. The leaders of the Tiananmen Square movement were pursued by the regime, which posted wanted notices via television. Many fled abroad. Liu Xiaobo had no intention of following them.
我后来是6月6号被抓的当时抓我的时候我是骑自行车回家的半路上突然就开过来一个面包车，下来把我的车子弄倒了，下来几个人把他眼睛蒙上，口塞上，就给扔到车上了。
第一次坐牢的经验，他在牢中他有充分的时间来认真的反思自己的经历，跟思考中国的未来前途。大家都知道，对于很多政治犯来说，坐牢的经历实际上是等于是上了另外一个大学。刘晓波也是这样，他在牢中有大量的时间阅读了很多很重要的 很重要的著作。这种例子在人类历史上是经常见到的，在中国也是，刘晓波是这样。
But his first prison sentence also marked a turning point in Liu Xiaobo's personal life. While he was still a student, he had married Tao Li in 1982. The couple had a son aged 6 in 1989. After 6 months in jail, his wife filed for divorce. Liu Xiaobo would never again see his son, who later left with his mother to live in the United States.
因为当时官方把我抓了之后，好像是我成为一个典型了。因为中央电视台在新闻联播的时候播了一个长篇的文章，题目就叫《抓住刘晓波的黑手》。当时外边的人，亲人也好，朋友也好，以为我可能要么可能就被枪毙了，要么可能就会在监狱里待很长时间。我前期的这种选择呢，我也非常理解，对吧？因为这是人之常情嘛。他在外面还带一个孩子，那么在当时那种气氛下呢，可能他就觉得离婚对于他、对于孩子的生活都会更好一点，所以我想起来呢，我更多想的是，我觉得我对不起他们，就是因为我个人的这些事情给他们生活带来很多麻烦不方便吧。
我们觉得他的这个性格变化挺明显的，他有一个叫六四情节，我们这一代人都有六四情节，我也有六四情节，他也有。刘晓波的六四情节，最大的六四情节，他是什么呢？是对亡灵的六四死难者。
那么为了这些死去的人，给他们讨还一个这个历史公道，我就想呢，还是应该留在这儿跟他们的亡灵在一起，主要就是出于这个吧。
Liu Xiaobo was released in 1991. China was changing around him. The aged Deng Xiaoping, who had had students shot, retired after having launched reforms with the slogan, "To get rich is glorious." Jiang Zemin and a generation of leaders who came from Shanghai decided that China should shake up the economy. Major projects sprang up everywhere. The country opened up to foreign business. Liu Xiaobo was no longer the flamboyant intellectual of the 80s. He lost his post at the university, and he no longer had the right to publish in China. With his friend the poet Liao Yiwu, he looked for a new role among Beijing's intellectuals.
我们也一起就是参加了一些政治签名。那个时候我发现刘晓波有个特点，他就是特别喜欢起草一些关于和天安门屠杀有关的这么一些政治签名。我都不知道他的，因为那个时候也没电脑，参与的人也非常的少，就是完全就是靠那个传真，就是传真传过来。一般像这种行为，就是说第二天或者几个小时之后，警察肯定就要来把你给抓走。
So Liu Xiaobo found himself implicated in a host of disputes in the 1990s. His activism won him several periods of detention or re-education. In 1995, he was arrested while preparing a new petition to recognize the Tiananmen Square massacre. 6 months deprivation of freedom. In 1996, he was sent for 3 years to a re-education camp in the north of China. It was in the canteen of the camp that he married Liu Xia, an intellectual and poetess who shared his ideal of freedom. While he was serving his sentence, the Chinese regime made him a proposition. President Clinton was to visit Beijing. Liu Xiaobo and his wife could leave China immediately with the American president.
他们在这儿是吧？是98年的时候，这是刘晓波自己讲的当局就暗示他，你可以出去。 刘晓波他就后来就说，他说我就不出去了。他说你要是判我10年8年，那也许我就想我就出去算了。你既然只判我3年，那我已经做了2年了，那明年一过我就可以出狱了，那我就不出去了。
Liu Xiaobo was released in 1999. At the start of the 2000s, the International Olympic Committee came to Beijing to attribute the 2008 Olympic Games. China was about to belong to the WTO. The big cities discovered wealth. This race for development strengthened Liu Xiaobo's convictions. In July 2001, he created the Chinese branch of the most important international association of writers, the Pen Club, which defends freedom of speech all over the world.
但是呢，这个社会的进步，社会的这个整体，人活着也不能光有钱，是吧？光能够吃得好，穿得暖哈，它还有一些其他方面的要求吧。所以说呢，也有些当年我的同学呀、朋友啊，他们现在都发财了哈，开着好车呀，住着大房子。但是呢，事实上你要说他们也很难说他们生活的比我更好，起码从一个心安的角度讲吧，
Yu Qie was then a fashionable young intellectual, something like Liu Xiaobo had been in the 80s. He took the risky decision to join the Pen Club.
所以刘晓波就希望在这个笔会的这个平台上面，我们每一个人学习怎么样过这个民主的生活。比如说我们笔会当时有这个理事会，我们有11个人，我们每个月开一次这个网络的这个理事会，我们讨论很多的这个问题，我们也会有很激烈的冲突和这个争论，然后就说怎么样开一个会。其实大部分人，中国即使是这些追求民主的知识分子，都不知道怎么样开一个会。
那么就是通过这个自己创建这么一个笔会，把这个中国所谓的天安门大屠杀之后的文学，通过这个笔会，然后把它呈现出来，推出一批这个见证性的作家。那么这就和奥斯维辛之后的文学，还有那个就是共产党时期的，那个就比如说前苏联，它地下的抵抗文学，这个是这个，那么就是他认为这个都是一样的。
Liu Xiaobo paid the price for his activism. Government agents in plain clothes, but not really discreet, now camped outside his home. His telephone was tapped. His internet connection was filtered. In his Beijing apartment, he was now living under house arrest.
有的时候呢，就把你软禁在家里，不让你出门，而且现在还不像90年代，90年代他跟着你是偷偷摸摸的，尽量不让你看见，你一回头一看，他马上就躲了。现在他这种跟都是公开的了，他就告诉你一直在跟着你哈。有的时候跟你的警察，有的时候要是距离太近了，他还上来跟你搭2句话啊，聊天啊。
On the 8th of August 2008, Beijing seemed stronger than ever. The city had become the center of the world. Beijing had subdued all protests. The Olympics would be their crowning glory.
Mesdames et messieurs, prière de vous lever pour l'hymne national chinois.
Liu Xiaobo took what advantage he could from the time of the Olympics. He met foreign journalists, and moreover, more and more regularly, he organized discreet meetings in the streets of the old city. University professors and even officials more or less close to the party could be found there. Liu Xiaobo had a new project based on the model of Charter 77, drafted by Václav Havel in Czechoslovakia.
我记得当时我们每一次讨论这个08宪章的时候，我们都是在这个餐厅里，我们在一个朋友开的那个餐厅里，因为我们不能发电邮或者电话中讨论，每次我们都是约一些朋友见面，在这个餐厅里面。我记得我差不多有过10次在这个餐厅里面这个吃饭，每次约不一样的人来，比如说这一次我们可能约一些学者，下一次约一些作家，下一次约一些这个律师来讨论这个08宪章。
Tieng Biao, a lawyer for cases deemed sensitive at that time, heard about these meetings and contacted Liu Xiaobo.
我也给他提了一些具体的意见。当时我看到的这个文本是20条，我说就是不需要这么多的内容，把重点放在中国的政治体制中国的这个民主转型，司法制度、人权就可以。那后来也有就是很多人也是同时来修改在非常秘密的情况下去同时修改这个文本提出一些意见。
After weeks of intense and secret debates among the intellectuals, Charter 08 produced a summary in 19 articles. It went from the independence of justice to freedom of speech or religion. Xia Yeliang is a professor of economy at Beijing University. He took part in these intense debates, but he considered Liu Xiaobo's text not sufficiently radical.
Personally, I'm not fully agree with his points, but at that time, I think that everybody should have some compromise and then agree on that, because this version is very peaceful. There's no very strong words. There's no mentioning subversion of the government or anything like that. So I don't think the people who signed this would have the very serious results.
Liu Xiaobo's text received 303 signatures. Officials, managers of state enterprises, university heads. It was an unexpected success. The charter was to be published on the 10th of December 2008, International Human Rights Day. But the authorities scented danger. Liu Xiaobo and several other signatories like Yu Jie were arrested 48 hours before publication.
所以你个人写一篇文章，他不一定那么害怕，但是几百个人一起在一份这个文件上签名，这是中共非常害怕的。这刘晓波就表现出，就是他不仅是一个知识分子，一个意见人士，他也是这种组织者和这个活动者，他是这些反抗力量的一个焦点。
Arrested on the 8th of December, Liu Xiaobo was arbitrarily detained for several months before his trial started in December 2009 before the Intermediary Court No. 1 in Beijing. The trial was held in camera. The dissidents' friends were kept at a distance by the police, who had cordoned off the courthouse.
Do you think the eviction is justified?
I come here to support Liu Xiaobo, to support Charter 8.
A dozen ambassadors, including those from Germany and the United States, sent observers who were also banned from the courtroom. 2 days later, on the 25th of December 2009, Liu Xiaobo was sentenced to 11 years in prison for subversion of state power. The date was not chosen by chance. Beijing hoped that on Christmas Day, foreign media and diplomats would be less likely to gather at the tribunal.
Persecution of individuals for the peaceful expression of political views is inconsistent with internationally recognized norms of human rights. Mr. Liu has peacefully worked for the establishment of democratic processes in China. We continue to call on the government of China to release him immediately and to respect the rights of all Chinese citizens.
Alone in front of his judges, Liu Xiaobo read a long declaration. Freedom of expression is not a crime, he said. He repeated what he had said in Tiananmen Square. I have no enemies, his principle of non-violence. Two weeks later, in the port of Oslo, a letter reached the Nobel Prize Committee. It was signed by Václav Havel. It suggested that the Nobel Prize should be attributed to the imprisoned Chinese dissident. Intellectuals from all over the world joined in this appeal. The 8th of October 2010, the Norwegian Nobel Committee announced its choice.
The Norwegian Nobel Committee has decided to award the Nobel Peace Prize for 2010 to Liu Xiaobo for his long and non-violent struggle.
亚格兰带着口音说出来“刘晓波”那个3个字的时候，哎呀，那个情绪一下子就是忍不住的。朋友们后来相遇，很多人在那一天眼泪忍不住，因为这个我们知道，不然的话，刘晓波和我们中国希望争取民主的这些自由、爱好自由的人们，影响力是非常非常小。世界知道刘晓波的人也非常非常小。
Liu Xiaobo didn't know that he had the Nobel Prize. He molded in his cell in the north of China, while the foreign media crowded round the residence of his wife Liu Xia in Beijing. Some of his friends tried to get through.
I think the one-party dictatorship would be ended within 10 years. I'm very optimistic about that.
But this optimism didn't last long. The gate closed. In just a few hours, Liu Xia was under house arrest.
在那12月9号，在颁奖典礼的那一天，北京时间的那个下午，那警察就来敲门，然后就有2个警察冲上来，用一个黑的头套套住我的头，所以他们用很多这些酷刑。所以那持续了大概有这个8、9个小时到深夜，所以我就昏迷过去，然后就送到医院去抢救，因为我想可能上级也没有命令他们要把我打死，只是说折磨一下。
In the days before the Nobel Prize was announced, Liu Xia was rarely able to leave her apartment. One day we found her in a Beijing cafe. She showed us her artistic works, her poems, and above all, the photos she took of her husband. Liu Xia was ever conscious of the danger surrounding her life with Liu Xiaobo.
然后加上我也。因为在我身边就这么多年一直发生的都是坏事情，所以我们就从来没有想象过。对，而且小波这么多年来，他根本就没想过自己会被提名甚至获奖，因为这么多年以来，他一直是坚持，对所有的在外面的中国朋友还有外国朋友说。一定要帮天安门母亲争取。他一直在，被抓的前2天，他跟朋友通话还说，请大家再努力为天安门母亲争取一下。对。
With the help of the German government, Liu Xia took refuge in Berlin in the summer of 2018. She can't express herself freely because her brother is a hostage in Beijing. but she felt obliged to show her presence among his comrades by reading a poem.
下面这一首诗，我写给小波的。你说话，你说话，你说实话，你白天说，夜晚说，只要醒着就说。你说呀说，你在封闭的房间里，你的声音冲到外面扩散。20年前的枪声决定了你的生命，永远活在死亡里。你爱你的妻子，但更骄傲她与你共度的黑暗时间。你让他随心所欲，更坚持让他死后继续给你写诗。那些诗行没有声音，没有。
In this video by the Chinese Penitentiary Administration, we can see Lu Xia visiting Liu Xiaobo. That is how she told him about the Nobel Prize. That's how she learned that he was ill, gravely ill, with liver cancer. By this propaganda, we were supposed to believe that Liu Xiaobo was being well cared for. We see him being examined by several doctors, even while his health deteriorated. We can see the Nobel Prize winner doing physical activities in his prison. Above all, we see a man alone, in permanent isolation. In the course of 2017, the cancer worsened. Despite her house arrest, Lu Xia alerted the international community. In June 2017, Liu Xiaobo was admitted to Shenyang Hospital terminally ill. Faced with international pressure, the regime allowed foreign doctors to visit his bedside.
They want us to help, and I think this is a very nice jest.
He confirmed his wish to be treated in Europe, but it was a masquerade, and it was too late.
Is she understanding English?
He cannot be moved, said their Chinese colleagues. Liu Xiaobo died a few days later, on the 13th of July 2017, after 9 years in prison.
绝大多数国家，几乎所有的国家都更加重视跟中国做生意从中国市场赚钱，而把这个推动人权民主放在很靠后的位置。像刘晓波，就是我把他称作是一个就是事先张扬的谋杀案。在这样就是全世界的这种注视之下，他就死在中共的监禁之中。
The Chinese regime organized a well-orchestrated funeral. The whole of Liu Xiaobo's family was summoned by the authorities. Official propaganda tried to control both the image and the legacy of the Nobel Prize winner. The regime ordered that his ashes be scattered at sea to avoid having a place of memorial to Liu Xiaobo. In China, Liu Xiaobo's name is totally censored. But internet users have started to speak of an empty chair. And in its turn, the term empty chair has been censored. There is only one place left in the country where the name Liu Xiaobo still resonates amongst the population, in Hong Kong, where for the past 30 years they have gravely celebrated the anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre. From now on, the figure of Liu Xiaobo is everywhere in this major rendezvous in the life of the Hong Kong populace. But Hong Kong is a different China. The former British colony has for the moment the benefit of a special status, free access to the internet and foreign media. But in the interior of the country, there is total censorship. In 2008, the last time we met him, Liu Xiaobo foresaw the future risk. A few weeks later, he would disappear, imprisoned until he died. He left us these last words to understand his freedom.
因为我自己认为是对的嘛，因为在中国生活就是这样，你这个总要付出代价。你要是不为我选择这种按照一般人看来是风险非常高的、付出代价非常大的一种生活，但是你要是不为这个付代价呢，那么你就会为其他的方面付代价，比如说你要说谎话。 你要跟着主流意识形态走，你要是为了谋一份在国内的一个比较好的收入、比较好的工作，那么呢，你就不能再关心这些6·4的死难者，不能再发出批评政府的声音，那么呢，就是你的真实想法就是。 不能表达吧，为了在这儿有一份比较好的物质生活，那么呢，但我就是宁愿付这方面的有风险的代价，我也不愿意付那种做一个说谎的人，对不起自己良心的这么一个人。